This is Earth. You live in a region somewhere on this planet. Your friends, your love, home are all within this planet. A small planet orbiting a star called the Sun. To understand how big the universe is, you have to start with nearby object, such as the Moon, an object that exists in the night sky. Although it seems very close, it is far away from the Earth. The average distance between Moon and Earth is 384,400 kilometers. To put that in perspective, if you could drive a car straight to the Moon at 60 miles per hour, it would take you more than 4 months to get there without stopping. Imagine Earth is a big ball and the Moon is another ball that's quite far away. If you were to line up 30 Earths next to each other, the distance to the Moon would be like the space from the first Earth to the 30th Earth. In space, the distance between Earth and the Moon is called a distance unit. Scientists use this distance to measure other things in space. For example, they might say that a spacecraft is 1 moon distance away. Space rockets take about 3 days to reach the Moon. So if you were in a rocket traveling at super fast speeds, you would get there in just a few days. But despite this distance, humans have reached the Moon and brought samples back. Now let's go a little further to the nearest planet to Earth, Mars. Although Mars looks like this from Earth, it is not close but far away. When Earth and Mars are closest to each other, they are about 54.6 million kilometers, which is 34 million miles apart. This is like if Earth and Mars were playing tag and were very close to each other. When Earth and Mars are farthest from each other, they are about 401 million kilometers, which is 249 million miles apart. This is like if they were on opposite ends of a really big playground. If you were to travel to Mars, it would be like going on the longest road trip you could ever imagine. With the distance changing depending on how the planets are lined up, if you could drive a car that went 100 kilometers per hour, which is about 60 miles per hour non-stop, it would take you over 60 years to reach Mars when it's at its closest. But despite the distance, Elon Musk and other scientists are trying to get there, maybe in the future. Now let's go a little further to the farthest known planet in the solar system, Neptune. The distance between Earth and Neptune is enormous. If we wanted to measure it in miles or kilometers, it would be really big. To give you an idea, light, which is the fastest thing in the universe, takes about 4 hours to travel from Earth to Neptune. So if you were traveling at the speed of light, it would still take you 4 hours to get there. But currently none of our technology is able to travel at the speed of light. If you were to drive a car today going 100 kilometers per hour without stopping, as I said earlier, you would be surprised to hear that it would take you 96.2 years to reach Neptune. On average, Neptune is about 2.7 billion miles, which is 4.3 billion kilometers away from Earth. That's more than 2,000 times the distance from Earth to the Moon. Voyager 2, which launched from Earth on 20th August 1977, reached Neptune on 24 August 1989. Voyager 2 took about 12 years to reach the Neptune with a speed of 19 kilometers per second. While this speed may seem like a lot to you, it is negligible to the universe. Now if we go a little further, Voyager 1 is the farthest man-made spacecraft in space. Voyager 1 reached a distance of 23.381 billion kilometers away from Earth and 23.483 billion kilometers from the Sun. Voyager 1 travels very fast, about 38,000 miles per hour. Even at that speed, it takes a long time to cover such a huge distance. Voyager 1 has now traveled beyond our solar system, where the Sun's gravity no longer pulls it. It's like it's now exploring a new part of space, far from our solar neighborhood. Voyager 1 is about to leave the solar system and heading to the constellation of Ophiuchus. However, it has not reached the Oort cloud yet. If you don't know what an Oort cloud is, scientists think the Oort cloud is a spherical cell surrounding our solar system. It is like a big thick walled bubble made of icy pieces of space debris, the size of mountains and sometimes larger. The Oort cloud might contain billions or even trillions of objects. If it continues at its current speed, It will take Voyager 1 another 300 years to reach the inner edge of the Oort cloud and another 30,000 years to go into it. But Voyager 1, as it left our solar system, took this photo, which may seem small but is really impressive. The blue dot you see here is our world. Here all countries, all wars, all doctrines, all violence, all possessions, all love, all history, all scientific thought, all sports are confined to this blue planet. There is nothing beyond this. Now, if you go little further, you will see Alpha Centauri. Alpha Centauri is a star that is very far away from Earth. It is one of the closest stars to our solar system, but is still incredibly distant. Imagine the distance from Earth to the Moon is about 238,000 miles or 384,000 kilometers. Now think about how many times you would need to travel that distance to reach Alpha Centauri. The distance to Alpha Centauri is about 4.37 light years. A light year is how far light travels in 1 year, which is about 5.88 trillion miles and which is 9.46 trillion kilometers. If you could travel at the speed of light, it would take you 4.37 years to get to Alpha Centauri. But since we can't travel that fast, it's much further than any distance we are used to. If you had a super fast spaceship that could go to the Moon and back in 1 hour, you would have to make over 100 million trips to the Moon to cover the distance to Alpha Centauri. Now, if you go further, you will see the entire Milky Way galaxy. This is a huge group of stars including our Sun, along with planets, dust and gas. It's like a gigantic spinning disk in space. The Milky Way galaxy is so big that it's hard to imagine. It's about 100,000 light years across. That means it takes light 100,000 years to travel from one side of the galaxy to the other. We live about 26,000 light years away from the center of the Milky Way. So if we could travel at the speed of light, it would take us 26,000 years to get there. Even if you could travel super fast like spaceship going to Earth to the center to the Milky Way would take a really long time. You are currently here. When the Earth was here last time, there were dinosaurs on Earth. Light takes 100,000 to 120,000 years to travel from one end of the galaxy to the other, and the Milky Way contains roughly 100 to 400 billion stars. Now, if you go further, you will see the local group, the group of galaxies. The group is a small cluster of galaxies bound together by gravity. It contains about 54 galaxies, although the exact number can vary depending on what you count as part of the group. The two largest galaxies in the local group are the Milky Way and the Andromeda galaxy. The Milky Way is where our solar system is located. Andromeda is the closest spiral galaxy to us and is on collision course with the Milky Way. But this won't happen for another 4 billion years. The local group spans about 10 million light years across. The galaxies within it are relatively close to each other compared to galaxies in other parts of the universe. If you had a spaceship traveling at a really fast speed, it would take millions of years to travel from Earth to Andromeda galaxy, which is part of our local group. Now, if you go further, you will see the Virgo supercluster. The Virgo supercluster is a massive collection of galaxies, including our own Milky Way galaxy. It is one of the largest known structures in the universe. The Virgo supercluster spans about 110 million light years across. It's a gigantic cluster of galaxy groups and individual galaxies bound together by gravity. Our galaxy, the Milky Way, is part of the local group of galaxies, which is a smaller cluster within the Virgo supercluster. Now, if we go further, you will see the Laniakea supercluster. The Laniakea supercluster is a massive group of galaxies, including our own Milky Way galaxy, that forms part of the larger cosmic structure of the universe. The Laniakea supercluster is enormous, spanning about 520 million light years across. It contains thousands of galaxies grouped together. The supercluster is defined by the gravitational pull of its galaxies, which means that these galaxies are all influenced by each other's gravity, pulling them together. Now, if you go further, you will see the Observable Universe. It is incredibly vast, with a radius of about 46.5 billion light years. This means the observable universe is roughly 93 billion light years across. We can only see objects whose light has had enough time to reach us since the beginning of the universe, which is about 13.8 billion years ago. Because the universe is expanding, the distance to these objects is much greater than 13.8 billion light years. It contains billions of galaxies, each with billions of stars and possibly even more planets. We can observe a small fraction of these galaxies and their features. Now, what is behind it? We can see beyond the observable universe because light from beyond the distance hasn't had time to reach us yet. The universe might be much larger, but we don't have information about those parts, and we will probably never know about it because the universe is expanding and its speed is steadily increasing. Now, let's come back to Earth. I think now you understand well just how big the universe is and how tiny we are. This is Earth, and here we are fighting, we loving, we hating, everything all is here. And as you may have seen in other videos, the universe that we see, or what is casually called the observable universe, is only shaped like a light bulb, but the universe is bigger than that, like a planet like Mars. Through various theories, we know or can guess how big the universe is, but we don't know what lies beyond. We have so much left to discover. From now on, when you look at the night sky, remember how small we are. Now I want to hear from you. What fact of the universe surprises you the most? If you like this kind of videos, then you can check out my other videos. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching.